Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 229 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Claire Gass. She's a swimmer at Texas A&M, and we're glad to have Claire on the podcast. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, no complaints. I work at a high school and they're on spring break right now, so I got a little break here and that's nice to it doesn't I'm in Michigan, so it doesn't feel like spring because we've still got snow on the ground, but the break is nice nonetheless.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm from Ohio, so
Yeah.
I get that when spring doesn't feel like spring, it's no fun.
Yeah. But in Texas, it probably feels like spring. The
Yeah, it's
weather's
getting into the 80s now during the
oh,
day, so that's
feels like summer.
so nice. So nice.
Well, why don't we talk about your high school recruiting a little bit? So you're at
Yeah.
Texas A&M right now, but you
Yep.
started at Nova Southeastern. So let's talk about that first round of recruiting. How was your experience?
So I would say that my whole recruiting process and my process of how I've gotten to where I'm at today has been super non-traditional. It was also around when COVID started that I was like, it was the end of my junior year. So my 100 breaststroke has always been my best event, fastest event. And I was swimming pretty well. My club team when I was young, um, they we didn't have a lot of pool time. I swam at a YMCA just for a YMCA, and so we had to share the pool with a lot of other teams, whether that was high school teams from surrounding cities. I'm from a really small town, and so we shared with surrounding high school teams, surrounding other YMCA groups. It was just like not a lot of pool time. So at the time I was probably only training 4 days a week for like an hour and a half a day. Which is not super traditional coming up. But nonetheless, I was still like performing pretty well and I was still competing at a national level for YMCA swimming. But my sophomore year I was doing pretty well and I was really ready to lock in my junior season. I trained really, really hard. And I'm a taper swimmer. I really swim really well when I'm tapered at the end of the season. And so I trained super hard throughout the season and I was ready to go. It was junior year. The coaches are all going to start recruiting more your junior year. I was ready. I was locked in. And I had swam like really close to my best time at state. And then 2 weeks later was nationals, YMCA nationals, which is like the meet that I was tapering for that year. So I was super ready. I was like, wow, I've never been this close to a best time before I taper. This is going to be such a fantastic year. And right before nationals, COVID happened and they said, oh, we're canceling nationals this year. And so that was like super, uh, it was very detrimental to my mood and my love for swimming at the time. And so I felt very unmotivated after that. I wound up quitting swimming after that happened. So for a while it was, oh, we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know where you're gonna go, what you're gonna do. We don't know when you're gonna be able to swim again. And then in my head, I kind of just like sat back and I was like, okay, well, like maybe this is it. Like I'm done. So I quit swimming and then my senior year. I I still had quit swimming. So then it was December and one of my friends came home from college and was like, "What are you doing?" He was swimming at the time for Cleveland State and he was like, "What are you doing like after you're done when you graduate high school?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. No idea. Maybe the military, not sure." And he was like, "Listen, like where do you want to go to school? What's up?" And I'm like, "If I went somewhere, I would want to go to Florida for sure." He's like, okay. I was like, maybe California. I don't know. He's like, give me your computer. Give me access to your email. Let me look through some stuff for you. And so he went through and made like a list. He's like, do you want to go D1? Do you want to go D2? I'm like, oh, D2. Like, I don't want any kind of like harsh commitments, nothing like that. I was very like not serious about it, not very committed at the time. And he went through my email and found all of the schools that had emailed me from Florida and California, and he like set up recruiting calls with these coaches and was like, all right, Claire, like just be on these calls at these times. Like you can do it. I'm like, okay, thanks. And so I wound up at the end really talking. I didn't really reach out to any schools. It was like the beginning of January. So it was really, really late for me, January, my senior year. And yeah, I wound up, there was like three different schools in Florida in that same conference. I was talking to um, Florida Southern, and Nova Southeastern University were the three that it came down to. And I went down and I took a visit, and at the time there were no official visits either. And so I had to go like on my own dime, went down in like 2 days, visited all three schools and talked to the coaches and got like offers, scholarship offers, that kind of thing. And it just turned out that Nova Southeastern was the best option for me financially, is why I wound up going there. It wasn't any specific like, oh, I love it. Oh, da, da, da. It was like, okay, well, this is going to be best for me financially. Um, but I did wind up loving it. I absolutely loved going to school there, and it was the best experience. Um, yeah, and I remember like through the year after I started calling Coach Ben, he had asked like, "Oh, are you swimming? Like you haven't put up any times in a long time. Like all of these times are from your sophomore and junior year." I'm like, "Yeah, that's so weird. I don't know. Like it's just COVID." Like I'm like, "It's COVID. There's no meets. I'm definitely training." He's like, okay, well, before we sign this scholarship, I want to see a meet from you um by the end of your season." And I was like, shit, okay. I had to figure this out. And so I trained like by myself for like I want to say 3 or 4 weeks. Um and I wound up swimming and I was like probably half a second off my best time in the 100 breast. And so I was like, all right, good enough. I was like half a second off my 200. I was like, good enough. Let's he was like, all right, that's fine. Let's sign you. Let's do it. I was like, yes, okay. Settled. Perfect. Yeah, so that was kind of wasn't super traditional, but that was my recruiting process.
I think that's why I like to ask college athletes. Like some people might say, like, really, you ask the same question to start every podcast with a college athlete. But I think it's really important to show, if there's a high school kid watching this that's going through recruiting, like it can go different ways. There's no like one way to do it. There's no, I mean, obviously, a lot of people have a traditional, very smooth, like they know where they're going and it's easy, but there are a lot of people who have recruiting paths that go all over the place, whether it was from COVID or something else. And I think it's just important for people to see that there's no one right
Definitely.
way to do it.
Yeah, there's endless opportunities and endless paths to get to the same place. And that was when I was at Nova Southeastern University, that was something that I talked with all of my teammates about, was like, "Oh, how did you get here? How did you get here?" And it was so interesting to see how so many different paths could all align to be met at the same place.
Yeah. I also think it's important, like I've talked to a number of people in the sport they go to college for, they started later in life. Like there's some
Hmm.
people who like didn't do it their whole life. And I feel like a lot of people have that assumption, like if I'm gonna do a college sport, especially at a high level, then I've like had to have been doing it forever. And it's like, well,
Hmm.
there's some people who started in like middle school, they didn't do it growing up at all, or they started in high school and all of
Yeah.
a sudden here they are in college. I mean, you never know what's going to happen or how you can take that path.
Yeah, and I had a couple of teammates like that at NSU as well that didn't even start until high school. So I was like, there's just so many different ways to get where you want to go.
Right. Yeah, there's no one right path.
Definitely.
Um, and you had a lot of success at NSU. I mean, the programs had a lot of success. They're still having success.
Yeah.
You had personal success there. You had multiple top five finishes at Division II nationals. You guys won multiple Division II national championships. They won it again this year.
Hmm.
Four-peat, which is, I mean, that's amazing, right? A dynasty in
Crazy.
Division II swimming. But
Yeah.
talk about some of your experiences with that success and being part of a program that has that, you're winning every year.
Yeah, so yeah, NSU is like the Virginia of D2. It's so funny. Um, it's so much fun, and that program changed me and helped me become the person that I am today, and Ben as a coach as well, just like really pushed me to be the best version of myself. I showed up my freshman year not really knowing what to expect exactly, but going from max training 8 hours a week 2 years ago to now or a year and a half ago to now all of a sudden I'm doing 20-hour weeks and lifting and doing all this stuff that I've never done before. It was really, really a big shock to me and a big shock to my system. And it was really hard. It was such a hard adjustment to start training 20-hour weeks and to like allow my nervous system to try to adapt to it. And I was having lots of different sleep issues. Yeah, it was just a ton and moving across the country and it was crazy for sure. But it was really, really enjoyable. I swam really poorly my freshman year, really bad. Not like really, really bad, but like went the same time that I did a year before when I hadn't trained for a year and a half, you know? So it was very disappointing. And I think at the time I tied a lot of my self-worth to swimming as well. And so going in my freshman year and having these really high hopes and kind of not really pulling anything from it was really, really hard for me. And it made me feel like I was kind of lost or like I wasn't worth as much just because my performance wasn't as good as I had wanted or expected. And so that left me in like a really I don't want to say dark, but it was definitely like I was very sad and I was very sad about swimming. And so the second year I just kind of went into it with more of a like happy-go-lucky, enjoy the experience, try and make more connections, try and like really bury myself a little bit deeper within the program as a team and not focus so much on the swimming aspect of it because that didn't go really that well. So the more that I focused on the team aspect and kind of integrating myself and just enjoying my time there, the more that the more and the easier that success came to me. I mean, I came back my sophomore year, I was very like unfit, like hadn't trained the whole summer, and kind of negative about swimming, but that was honestly one of my best seasons. Um, and I was training full sprint training the whole time. I trained like from my freshman year and my sophomore year. My coach was like, "Oh my God, like this girl." Like I got in the water and he was like, "Shit, this girl is not trained very heavily before we're gonna throw with the sprinters." I'm like crying in my goggles the second week of practice. I'm like, I think I need to quit. I think I need to tell him I'm gonna quit. And I got pulled out of the water that day. He was like, "Hey, like." I'm like getting lapped by these other girls during a Saturday practice. And he pulled me out and he was like, "Hey, I think we're gonna put you with sprint." I was like, "Thank God, like, this is my saving grace." Do I traditionally swim sprint the same way that most people in sprint group do? No. But with my body type, with my background, I think that this form of training was really beneficial for me. So I spent my first 2 years doing this. My sophomore year, even though I was really negative at first, I just kind of focused on the experience and success came. Success just came with it. And that was so, so, so rewarding to at the end of the year drop from my best time again and to go. I wound up, so my first year, my freshman year, I didn't even qualify for nationals. And my second year, I qualified and placed third at nationals. So it was like a huge jump and it was just like, oh, wow, I finally feel like I've accomplished something. I feel okay. Like this is great. Swimming now again feels like this place that's very stable for me. It feels like something that's been there for me consistently throughout my whole life when maybe I didn't have another outlet or another form of consistency in my life. Um, so I started to train. I was like, you know what? Like I'm really gonna lock in. My junior year is gonna be really good this time. Again, my junior years have just never fully worked out for me the way that I expected or wanted them to, but I was determined. I was like, my junior year is going to be great. I just had all the success. This is fantastic. Um, and it was over the summer and I had trained a bit and I was supposed to do a long course meet the next week. It was in July. And I went with my friend. We went to a little get together in Miami on the intercoastal in Miami and I was on a jet ski and I was in an accident on this jet ski and I actually wound up fracturing my skull. Yeah, it was super crazy. And
Wow.
then I had yeah, not really what you'd expect. You hear like, oh, like she redshirted swimmer injury. You're like, oh yeah, like torn labrum, like her shoulder was injured. No, it was like super reckless, spontaneous. That's like was very on brand for me at the time. Um, yeah, so I was in Miami in a jet ski accident. I thought it was like water that was leaking out of my ear. Later, found out it was brain fluid, had to go back to the ER. Went to the ER, they were like, yeah, your eardrums just popped. I text my coach. I'm like, hey, no worries. Like, I'll be able to compete at this long course meet next week. I'm just gonna have to wear earplugs. My eardrums popped. No worries, no worries. Later on, it still hurts. I wind up going back to the ER. I'm like leaking lots still. It's like 12 hours later. I'm like, something's wrong. They're like, oh yeah, like that's brain fluid. Like your skull is fractured. We're gonna put you in the trauma unit at Fort Lauderdale's hospital. So I went there. I went to like the Broward Hospital and they were like, oh, let's see if it heals over in a few days. They kept me. It wasn't healing. So like I don't know, like within the skull, you have the skull and then the dura mater is right next to it. And so the dura wasn't healing. You have the dura, the pia, and basically the fluid was leaking from in here out here. And they were waiting for the dura mater to heal. Wasn't healing, wasn't healing, wasn't healing. So they're like, okay, we're gonna have to do some procedures. We're gonna put you in the ICU. We're gonna put a catheter up your spine and we're gonna drain your fluid from your brain every, I forget what it was. I think every hour they were draining like 10 cc's and then they were working their way up to like 20, 30 to kind of try and take the pressure of the fluid off of this area so that it could heal and stop leaking through. After another probably 5 days it did, and then they wound up taking the tube out, but when they did that, it kind of like messed up my spine a little bit. It hit the nerves around it, and I left not really able to walk. I left the hospital like in a wheelchair. My roommate like carried me over her shoulder upstairs when she brought me back home. And I had like told my family about it, and my aunt came down and was like, okay, like I can come take care of you. Like, let's see how this goes. And so she came down and she was taking care of me. She probably was there for like a month. And after a few days of her being there, I still couldn't like walk myself, couldn't go to the bathroom myself. It was awful. And so she was like, you need to go back to the ER. Like, something's wrong. Like, something is seriously still wrong with you. Like, they said that you were going to be fine after they took this tube out, and clearly it's not okay. So I went back to the ER and they finally figured it out. They were like, "Oh, we think you have meningitis." I'm like, "No, don't say that." So they did a spinal tap. They did like three different spinal taps and with longer and longer needles. I'm like, so painful. And they were like, "Yeah, not meningitis. We actually can't pull any fluid from your spine." It turns out when they pulled out the tube, I had a second leak in my spinal cord. So I had like essentially no fluid in my brain or spinal cord. So that's why it was dry, like everything hurt, every movement hurt, like it all made sense. I was like, oh my God, okay. So then they had to do a blood patch on my spine, and like that was also very painful. But I had lost like a lot of flexibility. I had tons of nerve pain. I had like all different kinds of things that I was kind of like dealing with and working through. On top of that, like a concussion, I had like a TBI situation kind of going on. I had vision issues. It was all kinds of stuff. But I was so determined. I was like, but wait, like I was supposed to have a great season. Like, what do I do now? By the time that it was mid-season, I did wind up like being able to walk again within like the next month probably. And I was like back in the water around the same time as well. I just couldn't do flip turns. I couldn't like go deep, very deep underwater. Um, it was just different things like that, some different restrictions. I couldn't go above like 70% effort level. They didn't want my heart rate to get too high in case anything would bust back open. Um, yeah, so that was really crazy. And it was also like, as I said too, like my self-worth is tied to this. So now I'm not able to swim. Now I feel bad about myself. And it was just like a whole whirlwind of things going on at once. Um, yeah. By mid-season, I still was not cleared to swim by my athletic training staff and by the doctors at the school. And so I was like, well, like, I don't really want to swim then. If I'm not going to be able to have a full season and have like, at least from mid-season on, that doesn't even feel fair to waste my eligibility on a few meets at the end. Um, and they wound up not clearing me until after the season was over. And so that was like my whole junior season. It was over. It was done. I was like, shit, okay. Um, that's it then, I guess. And then my senior year, I had bargained with my coach back and forth. Hey, are you able to promise me? Like, I was losing a lot of my scholarship money after I graduated my bachelor's. So most of my scholarship was, I had like a bunch of money through academic and like government funding as well. And so when I was done with my undergrad, I would lose that. I would lose that amount of money. And so I said, hey, like beginning of the year, I'm saying, hey, like, can we kind of negotiate? Like, I would love to stay here for a fifth year. I love this team. I love the girls. I love everything about it. Let's really try and like do this, you know? And he was just kind of like, I can't promise you anything until after I see your performance. And for me, that wasn't really enough because, I needed to be, if I'm applying to a master's somewhere else, if you're not going to give me the money I need to be applied somewhere else and be entered and have scholarship somewhere else. Because I knew I wanted to swim that fifth year, you know? I just didn't know if he was going to have the scholarship for me. So he, after many discussions, he was kind of like, okay, well, you know what? Go ahead, enter the portal. We'll have another conversation about what I could give you or whether I would allow you back on the team after the season's over. I say, okay, let's do it. And I had a really great season. I got to compete against Hannah Montgomery, and that really, really, really pushed me. She is like the hardest training person that I have ever met in my life. She gives 100% every single practice. And like to just be able to go back and forth with her every day at every practice really, I think, put me at my best physically, mentally, all of it. It was so much fun to train that year and to compete at the level that we did. And like I also was doing a lot more aerobic. The year that I fractured my skull and was like going through all of that, I was working on a lot more like lower intensity aerobic work. So that did build a little bit of like an aerobic base for me, which was very, very helpful for my 200. Obviously, I dropped like 7 seconds in my 200 my senior year. Um, yeah, and so we did it. We got to NCAA's. I knew the whole year that I really wanted to win. I got second. It's okay. But I qualified my 200 that year too, and I wound up fifth. I jumped like 25 spots or something. I think I went in like 30th. Yeah, but I had dropped like a second in at midseason or something, or at one of the first meets that we suited. And then by conference, I dropped again. I think like I want to say like 3 seconds and then another 3 seconds when I got to NCAA's at prelims. So I was having an amazing meet and everything was just hitting right and it didn't feel good, but the strength that took from us and like the unity that took from us as a team to win that year. I mean, we weren't supposed to win. So just like being in an environment like that was like just crazy and like such a nice opportunity and um such a great thing to be able to experience in any lifetime. And that those girls, they meant the world to me. So it was super fun that we were able to win that title again. My second nationals back. I mean, they won again while I wasn't there, but yeah, so that was awesome. Um and then by the end of the year, I was talking to some different schools and I had a lot of interest in other schools and I was like, you know what? Like I do kind of want to go D1. I'm getting these offers. They're really good offers. I think that I would kick myself if I didn't like try and see what I could do in a D1 program. So, yeah, I mean that's kind of how that how my whole career was. But so much love for that team and Ben and the girls that I trained with and competed with. They were absolutely awesome and it was the best experience.
That's a pretty crazy story.
Yeah.
That's that's an interesting journey for sure. It's not the normal college journey, not the normal college injuries, a lot of
Right.
different struggles, a lot of opportunities where you could have just given up and quit and said like, well, this crap's happened to me. I guess this is the end of the line. Like, so
Hmm.
be it. But then you end up coming back and having your best season ever. So yeah,
Yeah.
awesome story. Um, and why not explore D1, right? Like you kind of did a lot of what you could do at D2. You had some really high placements at nationals. Your
Hmm.
team won multiple national championships. Like why not take the next step?
Yeah.
And here you are at Texas A&M. So how has the next step been? I mean, what's it been like? I mean, is there a noticeable difference between Division 1 and Division 2?
Yeah, with the training, I wouldn't say it's a huge difference. Um, so when I was in the portal, I was like between a few schools, and it wound up at the end being between University of Southern California and Texas A&M. And I just think that when I went on visits to both, the amenities and the way that the university itself takes care of their athletes at Texas A&M is just like so top tier. And I loved all of the different amenities and the different facilities that really provided for us. You know, they were providing really strong nutritionists. They would give you free supplements. The the center sin center that you eat at, like the cafeteria, the dining hall, the athlete dining hall was like insane, absolutely insane as I'm visiting. They have really nice athletic training facilities. There's just like everything, the gym, the everything about it was just like so nice. And I was like, you know what? I feel like this could set me up in a place to have a really good season and in a place to um have all of the facilities and all of the opportunities that I never had at a D2 level, like we cooked for ourselves. We didn't get food. We didn't get anything really provided for us. So to be able to have an opportunity where everything was like kind of provided and given to us was something that was really, really awesome. Um, and such a great opportunity that I decided to take. And it's been a really good year overall. I've enjoyed experiencing and seeing what life is like D1 and here, especially at Texas A&M. The training itself, I wouldn't say is super different, to be honest. Mm, yeah, I would say it's pretty similar. One difference is at the beginning of the season here, Blair likes to do a block of 5 weeks of aerobic work, and I'm super not aerobic. Me, not aerobic. I'm not good with that. And so it was super, super hard for me to be able to keep up and try and like continue those first 5 weeks because we weren't even doing breaststroke. It was all freestyle work, 5 weeks of aerobic training, and like it was hard. It was hard stuff. Um, yeah, so I wasn't making any intervals and I was just showing up every day like so beat. I was like, oh my God, like I'm drowning. But I made it through. And then once that was over, everything kind of like balanced out and was very similar to what we did at NSU. Yeah,
Go to any football games?
I did. I'm not a huge football fan though. I kind of went
You
more for
had
the
to go,
social.
right? Just for the
Yeah,
experience.
more for the social aspect and for the experience, but it wasn't super huge. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah, but now you can say you've went, right?
Yeah,
Like it's just, I did
yeah.
it. I was
NSU
there.
didn't
I was
even
part of
have
the 12.
football. It didn't even have football. So I was like, you know what?
Why
Let's do
not?
it. Let's try
Let's
it
do
out.
it. Heck
Yeah.
yeah. You got to try it. Kyle
Yeah.
Field, 12th man, all that good stuff.
All of that. Football Nation.
Yeah. Yep. Big year for the team, right? Made the playoff, all this
Yeah.
good
Yeah, it was.
stuff.
It was a really good year for them.
Yeah. Can't say I support any of it because I'm a Notre Dame fan and they beat Notre Dame in the final 10
Yep.
seconds. Yeah. So
Shoot.
can't say I
Of
support any of that, but
course. Of course.
So in non-swimming, I noticed that on your Instagram, it looks like you travel a lot.
Yeah.
What is your favorite, place that you've ever gone?
Yeah. My favorite place I think I've ever been is to the Amalfi Coast. So beautiful, so peaceful, so relaxing. And we stayed up in like an Airbnb in the mountains, and it was awful to get there. It was so hard to get there. Transportation is awful. But like once we were there, so beautiful, so nice. It was amazing. So we stayed in Amalfi actually. That was like my favorite place I've been.
What's still on your bucket list? Like, where do you still want to go that you haven't gone?
Lots of things. I have so many. So I have some travel actually planned, and that's like a positive I'm kind of taking away from being done with swimming. As I get to kind of like be on my own schedule and travel when I want to. And so in May, I think I'm gonna go to Utah and Arizona, and we're gonna do some like national park hikes there in the Grand Canyon, and should be good, should be fun. And then I'm debating also going to Mexico at the end of May as well. I have some friends that are from Mexico, and so I might go there and visit them. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna move out of the country as well in June. I'm thinking I might go to Australia and do like a year there, work on a work visa kind of thing, or just travel. I don't know. I might just go there and travel. I'm still debating everything. Still trying to
Yeah.
figure everything out for my future.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Go live in Australia for a little while.
Yeah. Super
Where
fun.
else would you travel? Would you hit up New Zealand and just try to do like everything down there if you were, or if you traveled for a year,
Looking
would you not go to Australia?
if I traveled for a year, I would probably go to Australia and then wind up in like Asia and some different places like that. Like I've been looking a lot at like Thailand and Bali and you know, different places around there.
Become a travel blogger?
Maybe. Thought about it.
Get sponsored by like resorts and
Yeah.
airlines and
That would
stuff?
be so cool. That would be so nice.
Yeah, why
Definitely.
not? Anything is possible in the age of social media and influencers and all that. Like,
So
as long
true.
as like people like your stuff and watch it, you're set.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So true.
What about music? Are you a music person?
I used to be more than I am now. I used to be super, super into music and always watching like or listening for like the latest releases of all of my favorite artists and different kinds of things. But I really try to stay away from different media that affects my mood and how I feel, which is like kind of weird. But I just think that the media that we consume has a really big impact on how we feel, how we behave, how we treat others and go about our daily life. And so I really do, in a way, try to stay away from a lot of that. So I have like shied away from listening to as much music as I used to, but I do still love music. I don't really have any specific favorites. I do listen to kind of like everything. Before swimming, I always used to listen to like Boys or like Lil Peep or something like that. Got me like fired up. But I listen to everything. So
Yeah. No, that's an interesting take on it. That music is an interesting topic. There's
yeah.
like some people like, no, I never listen to it. I hate music, and other people listen to it nonstop, and they have
Yeah.
different reasons for listening to it. So a simple thing like music, there's always an interesting take on it.
Definitely.
Well, Claire, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your unique journey. It's definitely unique from recruiting to your swimming journey and the
Yeah.
injuries and everything. It's a cool story, and I think if people listen to it, I mean, they can get a lot out of it. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate you coming on and sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.